Hey guys, let's talk about negative entities, especially negative entity attachments. What are they? What do they do? How do they affect us? So, first of all, I've been on a big journey with this, and I assist people to heal and navigate from this, as well as assisting people with the medical medium protocols. Okay, so negative entities are negative energies that may have an organic or inorganic consciousness to them that can attach to you, and they usually attach to traumas, and they drain your light, and they can cause physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual issues in your field. And especially as you heal, you might start to feel these more clearly, because as you clear the noise in your physical body, these things can start acting up, because what they want to do is keep your vibration down, essentially. And some people, so everybody has negative entity attachments, just like everybody has strapped in their bodies. Everybody has them because they're part of this universal construct, and everybody has traumas. But some people are going to have a bigger issue with this and be more sensitive to it. And I'm going to get into this more in my next reels about this topic. Okay, so continuing our discussion about negative entity attachments. So I said that they usually attach through some kind of trauma. That is not the only kind of way they can attach, but it's pretty common. And to understand this, it's important to understand the energetics of what happens in your energy field when you have trauma. And actually, Medical Medium has explained this really well. So when you have a trauma, and it's something that you're not able to process in that moment in time, for your protection, your soul leaves your body. And in that space between where you and your soul separated, like, it creates a type of soul fracture, and energy fills in, like a shadow energy that's yours, right? So it could be fear, or lots of different vibrations around fear, right? So fear and shame, fear and lack of self-worth, fear and hate. So a lot of different kinds of energies. And in that opening that was created where your soul left your body, where it was protecting itself, but it wasn't able to protect your body in that moment in time. Remember, you're more than just a physical body. A negative entity can potentially come in and attach to that shadow energy, that fear that was created, and it then feeds on your light through that fear, and it also amplifies that fear, and lowers your vibration. Negative entity discussion continued. What are they? So the first concept to understand is that they're part of the unseen world. What does that mean? Well, they're not part of the seen world. The seen world is the world that we're used to inhabiting in, the world where we have a physical body, where we can see things, touch things. But we're also part of the unseen world. And in fact, our body is not just a physical body. We also have subtle bodies that are energy bodies. So in my last reel, I talked about how when you have a soul fracture and a shadow, like, energy fills in that fracture of fear, or whatever it was, the trauma that caused that soul fracture, that an entity can attach to that shadow, like, energy that was created. Well, that's all talking about your energy body, right? So that's part of your body that you're experiencing now. And some people have a hard time telling the difference, especially when they're become more psychically attuned to energies in their body. And negative entities essentially live in the fourth dimensional spectrum of energy, and they're limited to that spectrum, which means as you raise your vibration through especially things like eating cleanly, doing inner work, which is the best way to really heal your energy body, and then doing energy healing, that you're able to raise your vibration enough to heal from these attachments. Negative entities, let's talk about the different kinds of negative entities that are pretty common. And remember, these are not third dimensional energies, these are fourth dimensional energies. So you can't see them with your eyes, but you might sense them with your other senses. The first kind are entities that we self-create through our thoughts and emotions at not a conscious level, and it's through repeated effort. I recently had a client that had three monsters that she created in her childhood that were actually still hurting her into her adult years. The second kind are disembodied spirits. These are souls that passed over and didn't cross over, and so they're just stuck in between realms. They can be really dark, to just lost souls, and they might attach to you because they just need assistance to cross over, or they might be kind of hurtful and dark. The next kind are alien races. The most common are reptilians, but there's also insectoids and other races that can attach to you. And I know like reptilians have the ability to fracture themselves, like a soul fracture, but they can fracture a piece of themselves off and attach to you, or they can fully attach to their full body. And then there are non-organic entities that are artificial. And those tend to be like spider type beings, and those are just really pure evil usually. Negative entity attachments when using drugs, alcohol, plant medicines, and other psychedelics. I am grouping these all together because they all have something in common. They all lower your vibration physically and energetically. At a physical level, medical medium information explains that they actually all poison your body. They put it into a crisis state and they poison your brain. And when you're experiencing that and your soul is getting an actual injury when that's happening, your soul leaves your body. So you get a soul injury. And so I've explained that when you get a soul injury and it's a trauma in your energy field, that's when negative entities really like to attach. And they know when people use drugs and alcohol and psychedelics and plant medicines that it's a great feeding opportunity for them. And they can attach to your field and stay attached for a long time. And the more that you use these substances, the more attachments you can have, no matter why you're using it. Some people use them to escape their pain, and some people use them to help heal their traumas. When in fact, they are actually creating more and more traumas in their energy field, creating opportunities for more and more attachments, and they may not even be aware of it. And these attachments can affect their consciousness, their ability to make better decisions around using substances, and also affect their ability to heal. Negative entity attachments coming through psychedelics, real life stories to help you ground what I'm sharing about negative entities, and also help understand what can go wrong in extreme cases and extreme stories. So this person did Kambo, which is a toad poison, and she did it to have a spiritually awakening journey. It was her first time doing it. It was supposed to be fun and, just a cool journey. Well, it was anything but that. Not only was the toad poison so poisonous for her physical body that it triggered a massive chronic illness that took her years to heal, but that poisonous experience was so traumatizing for her soul. It caused such a huge soul injury that it ripped holes all throughout her energetic field during the ceremony, and a lot of really negative entities attached to her, like really mean ones, nasty ones. And she spent the next 2 years in a state of anxiety and panic because every time she closed her eyes, they would start attacking her to cause fear and to be able to feed off of her energy, and she wasn't able to sleep. And it took dozens and dozens of energy healing sessions to remove all these attachments. And it totally changed her life. It changed the trajectory of her life, and it changed the way that she lives her life. Yes, it was spiritually like awakening, but not in a good way. All right, negative entities, the pitfalls of microdosing. So I know microdosing is really popular in both the alternative and mainstream communities as a form of healing, of a form of doing shadow work. But when I think of microdosing and other plant medicines, I think of them as kind of tricksters in terms of like they'll give you something, so you might get some healing out of it, you might get some psychic abilities out of it, but they'll also be taking something from you, and that's when the negative entities come in. Because when you get those soul injuries, when you're doing these medicines, it really opens you up to attachments. And I know somebody who had been working with plant medicines for several years, doing it weekly, doing a lot of microdosing especially, but also did a lot of other kind of heavier plant medicines. And like, admittedly, she'd done a lot of healing work. She'd become really psychic. She was this like channeled to some star race, doing a lot of creative work. But what I noticed with her is no matter what she did in terms of her inner work, her healing work, which was always on plant medicines, she wasn't able to raise her vibration beyond a certain point. And one day I asked her a pointed question about the plant medicines, and this veil dropped, this trauma came up, and I saw thousands of entity attachments that had come through these journeys, and she had no idea, and she was really psychic. Okay, negative entities and marijuana use. This is my own personal story, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is a lot of people walk around thinking that they don't have any negative entity attachments, or that you could only have one or two, where the truth is that they can hide in layers of your subconscious, and you might never know until you start doing actual real deep healing work. And so this happened to me when I was 23. I had used some marijuana. I actually had a complete out-of-body experience. I thought it was sublime, blissful, and now I know like that out-of-body experience happened because the marijuana actually poisoned me. It caused such a big soul injury that I left my body. And when I was out of my body, I felt actually something jump into my body. I was still aware of my physical body, and I freaked out because this thing was not a nice energy. It was a male energy, and I flew back into my body, freaked out for several days, and then forgot about it, assuming that that thing was gone. Fast forward 20 years, I'm doing like inner work on myself at night, and I pull me as my higher self pulls out this full body, like disembodied spirit ghost, which was this guy that had been taking a ride in my body for 20 years, and I had no clue. Negative entity issues, the kind that comes through abuse, be it physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, or sexual, especially when it has come through your childhood. This is really common in this healing community, and these can really stop or slow down your healing. So in this one, the energetics of the perpetrator is really important because usually they've gone dark or evil even. Perpetrators likely have had abuse themselves in their childhood, lots of negative entity attachments connected to that abuse, and even ancestral negative entities, and they have not healed their traumas, and they've gone dark with them, meaning they've turned to drugs, alcohol, pornography, other things, other addictions, and every time that they're going into these addictions to escape their pain, they're causing more shadow elements, more soul injuries, they're lowering their vibration, and they're creating more and more negative entity attachments in their field. And oftentimes when these people commit their abuse, their consciousness has fully stepped out, and the negative entities are really in control of the abuse. And what the negative entities are wanting to do is cause trauma in other people's field, especially children, because children hold a lot of light, and they want to attach the children, drain the light, control their consciousness, cause the same cyclical type of issues to develop. If you're trying to heal from this, know that it's really important to heal the soul injuries and the negative entity attachments. Negative entity attachments, the kind that come through the education system. In the education system, it can be all the way from preschool up through higher education, so universities. And if you know anything about the education institution system, you'll know that it is an extension or arm of kind of the systems that are set up to dominate and control people, and they're created for programming, essentially. And these systems are also an extension of, in the spiritual world, the spiritual warfare that's happening to ensure that that programming is really successful. And negative entities are a part of that. And so if you imagine sitting in a classroom, you're going into a theta state, so your energetic field is opening more when you're going into a theta state, so it makes it easier to program you, and it also makes it easier for attachments to come and attach to, and they can come through teachers, the material that they're teaching, and some schools might be darker than others, and it doesn't mean that you necessarily got attachments from these, but it can happen. And I had a client who had studied to become an alternative medicine practitioner, and she had a big spider type entity right on her third eye to block her from stepping into her greater healing abilities with that work.